My name is Hiram Shelton. This is my presentation on the First Amendment for Criminal Justice 4160. First, I want to make sure we're on the same page about what the First Amendment is. It states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. So we have these five key points here that are really a basis of our country, and we're going to talk about how they came to kind of form together as powerful as they have in meaning. So first we have the incorporation of the amendment. So we have Gitlow versus New York in 1925. Basically, Benjamin Gitlow, he was convicted for creating a manifesto which called for an overthrowing of the government. Well, this was a very violent overthrowing that he was wanting to happen, and so he was convicted for his actions. But while doing so, it was ruled that the First Amendment protections would apply to all of the states. And this is really where the First Amendment kind of became applicable to everyone. So free speech and criminal procedure, we have the Brandenburg versus Ohio. This happened in 1969. Well, speech can only be limited if it incites imminent lawless action, meaning you could say, I wish he was dead, but you cannot say, I am going to kill you, right? There's a difference. Imminent danger or imminent lawless action is very different from a desire or a possibility. Just wanting something to happen, or even promoting a violent thing, is actually totally safe. It's protected in your First Amendment, but actually saying, inciting violence, that's actually not okay. It's no longer just a freedom of speech issue. So we have another part of freedom of speech happened with the Shepard versus Maxwell in 1966. Basically, they found that this case was not really fair because of the influence that the media had on the jury. And so they ruled that it was not a fair case, and they had to kind of redo the whole thing. Then we have symbolic speech, Texas versus Johnson, 1989. This was actually a very interesting case. It came out to be 5-4 in the Supreme Court ruled that it was okay to burn the flag because government may not prohibit expression simply because society finds it offensive. This was a very intense, very controversial thing, and it still is quite controversial. It's not, burning the flag is not something you probably want to be doing if you're, well, trying to please everyone around you, right? So the freedom of assembly, Cox versus New Hampshire, 1941. This stated that the states can regulate protests but not suppress speech, and that the government can require permits for parades to maintain public order. And then religious freedom, Employment Division versus Smith, 1990. So neutral laws that burden religious practices are still constitutional. It led to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in 1993, and the Division versus Smith of 1990. There were some religious practices where people were taking drugs as part of their religion, but this was ruled unlawful, and so they actually lost their jobs. It was a big mess, but they tried to rule in favor. They wanted the case to rule in their favor because it was part of their religion. Well, basically, this comes to say that just because it's part of your religion doesn't mean that it can be protected because it's also against the Constitution, or basically the law on drugs kind of was more dominant in this scenario than in case of freedom of religion. So then we have free speech and social media. This is where we get into, will the First Amendment, how will it change for the future? Right now we have social media is the modern public square, and government restrictions on internet access must meet strict scrutiny. It's very intense because we have things where like Facebook won't allow certain people to say something, or actually Facebook's pretty good, but YouTube for a while would take down videos by certain people just stating their opinions on things, and so it comes into play as to, can the owners of the social media app really take down videos of their speech because they own it, or is it in their right to post those videos because it's part of their freedom of speech, and the ownership doesn't matter as much as their right to make their opinions known to the rest of the world, or at least in America. So this is going to be an ongoing challenge, and the future of the First Amendment protections. There are debates on hate speech, misinformation, and online regulation, and courts continue to balance free speech with public safety. All right, let's see here. We got the First Amendment has evolved through the Supreme Court rulings. There are key protections extended to speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. Incorporation through the 14th Amendment, that was the wanting to overrule the government guy. Courts balance free speech. Future challenge include digital speech, and I think that's everything. So thank you so much for watching my video. These are my references, and I hope you have a good night.